Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile. This is the Simgot EW200 Maze, and these are my Honest Audiophile impressions. I want to thank Simgot for providing the EW200 Maze for a review. To greatly appreciate it. Simgot, you rock. Alright, so the Simgot EW200 Maze. This will set you back $40 from your bank account. It has a 10mm dual magnetic circuit, dual cavity dynamic driver with a double-sided vapor deposited silicone crystal diaphragm, whatever that means. 16 ohms of impedance, 126 decibel sensitivity, and a frequency response range of 10 hertz to 50 kilohertz. Comes in this black box. Give a little bit of branding, and we have a high-res sticker. It's gotta sound good. Get some specs on the back. Nothing too exciting going on the inside, other than you get a little carrying pouch and a bag of small, medium, and large silicone tips. And I did use the silicone tip. All right, so you get the EW200. We got to talk about this cable. So comes with a 2-pin cable with very, very nice ear hooks. I like these. Well controlled, has just enough tension. And then you get a plastic split with a cinch that works. Very nice braid, 90-degree 3.5. I like this cable. This cable's very, very good. For a $40 IM, I'm rather impressed. All right, the shells of the EW200 Maze are metal and very well built. I like these a lot. Nice and small. They're not the thinnest, but they're not the thickest. They do have a flat back, but the part where the nozzle comes is stepped. You have a rather aggressive angle, nice length, and a little bit on the fat side for the nozzle, not too bad. Overall though, very well built. They are a bit on the hefty side, but being a metal build, not bad. And you don't get too many metal designs in the $40 price point. All right, they fit very nice also. They disappear in the ears, and I find them to be, for the most part, comfortable. The weight and that little bit of an angle causes issues after about an hour or so of listening. I'll take a little bit longer than normal break, somewhere about 10 to 15 minutes. If I listen longer than that without taking a break, that angle starts to become a little aggressive and start to hurt a bit in my ear. And I'll have to take probably the rest of the day off without using them, or a several hour break, just because that is a little bit aggressive for me. But overall, nice comfort. They isolate outside noises really well. Probably 60-65% of outside noises being blocked. But anything from coffee grinders to vacuums on the inside of your house, they're going to muffle them pretty good. In order to carry on a conversation, definitely going to have to pause the music and pop them out of your ear to carry on a conversation. These do a very good job of isolating outside noises. And then being outside, walking around, it was only really loud vehicles that I was able to hear going by, like buses and loud trucks. Other than that, I was in my own little world. So they do a good job. So I like the build of the shell and the design of it, the look of it, the cable. We're off to a good start. The EW200 Maze is rather easy to drive. 16 ohms, 126 decibels sensitivity, everything drove it. I had no problems with any of my dongles driving the EW200 Maze. I did find that some of the higher output impedances on my desk did cause it to have issues with some hissing, but other than that, no problems pushing the EW200 with everything that I have. How do the EW200s sound? So they have a V-shaped sound signature, and they have decent sub bass. I wouldn't say it's a great sub bass, but it does extend into the sub bass, and you get a little rumble and grumble when called upon on the track, and it just kind of reminds you, oh, there's a little bit of sub bass here, but you're not going to be like, wow, that's some good sub bass. It doesn't really exist. Mid bass is the focus, and then upper bass, there's some prominence also, and it does bleed into the lower mids just a little bit. I find that the mid bass takes center stage. You're going to get some nice thump, you're going to get some nice slam, you're going to get some nice punch and kick and all those kind of adjectives, but it's a little bit light hitting. It's not really a bass head type of bass, but you still get enough to keep things engaging, and it has a decent amount for the price tag, and it's fairly well controlled. Only on heavier hitting bass tracks and more complex tracks did it get a little bit muddled and confused and go into one note mode. Overall, the tonality of the bass is adequate. I wouldn't say it's really natural, it's more just kind of almost natural, but it's pretty decent. And then the bass also has the details of a $40 IEM. It's not going to really beat anything beyond that, but it's not really going to lose to anything either. It's kind of average in details and resolution. The mids. The mids of the EW200 are actually very vocal focused. So if you are a vocal lover, the EW200 may be right up your alley. They are very vivid and clear, and they have a tendency to be shouty and a little bit on the bright side. And also, they do have a tendency for sibilance. But they do take the vocalist and put them in the spotlight. Everything else kind of takes the background. And the soloist vocalist is the focus. And if you like your spotlight to be on the singer, the EW200 does that very well. It has okay note weight. It's a little bit thin like it is in the bass. And then also at times the tone and timbre can be a little bit unnatural. Just like in the bass, it's not really super natural. It does have a tendency to be a little bit on the thin side and a little bit too forward. The treble. The treble of the EW200 Maze is very vivid and very clear. It is also, just like the mids, a little bit elevated and a little borderline hot. It has that thin note weight, and the tone and timbre is almost natural. It's almost there. It's not off-putting, but at times things can just sound a little bit off. There's a decent amount of airy presentation here though, and you get some nice space. So overall, I like the presentation of the bass, mids, and treble of the EW200. I do find that it's a little bit thin and that it has a little bit too much elevation in the mids and the treble, and it can be a little bit bright and a little bit hot and shouty. Soundstage of the EW200 is decent. I wouldn't say it's the widest, and it's not, you know, compressed and very intimate, but it's not really going to impress you with its width. It does an okay job of sounding average, but it doesn't really do a good job of portraying different sizes of venues. Everything kind of sounds the same. It doesn't really do a good job with depth either. Things kind of just, you can just kind of look into the stage a little bit, but you really can't dissect the stage very well. Layering gets a little confused on busier, more complex tracks, and it'll get a little muddled and confused. And then imaging, it's not 3 blob, even though it has a very strong center image, but things kind of jitter across the stage. It's not a very smooth transition. Things kind of go as they go across the stage. And that center stage is very, very strong, and so it puts that spotlight on the vocalist. Detail retrieval is all right. The bass has decent details, but yet it's not the best resolving, as it gets a little bit muddy, a little bit bloated in one note, especially on busier tracks. The mids are very clear and very vivid, so is the treble, but they do have tendencies to be a little bit harsh, and they're a little bit on the thin side, so it can kind of be a little bit grating at times. But overall, for a $40 headphone, or IEM, excuse me, it's not a bad resolving IEM. And the detail retrieval is pretty decent for a $40 IEM, but again, it's not really going to beat anything higher than it, and it's not going to really lose anything. As far as tone and timbre, the note weight is thin, and it doesn't really ever truly sound natural. Everything sounds somewhat artificial, but it's not off-putting either. It's just not the most natural sounding of IEMs. So the EW200, how does it compare to a couple other IEMs? Well, there's one that I kind of think of as being a very good budget IEM, and that's the Tangzu Wan'er. And so the Tangzu Wan'er has better, more natural tone and timbre, and it has a thicker note weight, and everything just sounds more accurate when it comes to instruments and vocalists and being more natural reproduced. The Tangzu Wan'er also has similar detail retrieval and resolution capabilities, and it has a more natural, warmer presentation, whereas the Simgot has a little bit brighter, hotter, more airy presentation, and also the Simgot is a little bit more forward in the vocals. And then you have the big brother to the EW200, and that's the EA500. And the EA500 has better detail retrieval, resolution, and also it has a more it has more stage width and a better depth, layering, and imaging capabilities. And also the EA500 is more aggressive in its presentation. The EW200 is more pleasant and also has a little bit more robust bottom end and a little bit more bass impact. So overall, I like the EW200. I think it's a good IEM for its price point. It's something different. You don't normally get metal shells and something that's got this fantastic cable. And it has a presentation that's a little bit on the airy side and a little bit of a fun signature, while at the same time keeping things engaged and forward for the vocals. If you're a vocal lover, the EW200 should be something that you consider. But the EW200, amazingly, is my favorite Simgot that I've heard. It's been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on the screen, subscription links, notification bells. If you haven't already, please check those off. Don't forget to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the video, and check out all the links down below. There's all kinds of information on there regarding how you contact channel, follow channel, support channel, all that kind of stuff. Speaking of supporting the channel, I want to thank my supporters through Patreon and YouTube memberships. Thank you very much for all that you provide to the channel. It's much appreciated. If you're interested in supporting the channel, there's various ways that you can do that through one-time gifts with PayPal, Venmo, or you can do monthly subscriptions with Patreon and YouTube memberships, where you can get access to my private Discords and all kinds of other things. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, it'd be much appreciated. Please check out the links. And while you're down there, don't forget to check out all the other information like gear recommendations and music recommendations and all kinds of things. So check out the links down below. And don't forget to enjoy the music, and that honesty is the best policy.